So in the last class, we started discussing about binary tree. We derived the binary tree definition from the n-array tree, where the n equals to 2 for binary tree. We also discussed with some examples that n equals to 3 is ternary or tertiary tree, and so on. So the specific tree that we will be discussing in this course is binary tree and some variant of it. So we conclude our last discussion with the array representation of a binary tree, or how an array can be used to declare a binary tree. So we actually discussed two array representations. The first array in the first array representation, what we have done is we kept three separate arrays, one containing the data, second containing the left position of the data, or the right or the actually the left child of the data. So here we have seen that we can store the data itself, or we can also store the position of the data in the data array, as well. But there is a problem with that. So the problem is it stores the same data at two places if I store the data. And also changing of node, if I want to update some items, it requires it requires changes in multiple positions in multiple arrays. And also traversal is time consuming. Now wait a second. So what I'm referring to by traversal? So can someone guess? So what is this traversal means? So in computer science, traversal means visiting all the positions or all the items in some data structure. It can be an array, it can be a stack, it can be a queue, as well as it can be a binary tree. So for this type of array representation, the traversal is actually very much time consuming. So to encounter that, what we have done is we used a single array where the left child we have stored in the so we declared only one array to store all the items instead of keeping three separate arrays with data left and right. So every time I will be adding one item in this array. So this will be in the 0th position, this will be in the 1th position, and so on. So the left child, so if I consider this tree, say and say this is D. So the left child of any node I will be stored in the 2i plus 1th position. So A, the root, will be placed in the 0th position. The left child of A will be positioned in the because I is 0 for A, so it will be 2 into 0 plus 1, so basically 1. So B will be stored in 1th position, C will be stored in this position, and this D will be stored. So these two positions are, as there is no tree, there is no node here, these two positions will be kept empty. So I have used the /0 to refer to the null tree or null subtree. So this D will be stored in the 5th position, or the array position with index 5. Why? Because it was 0, it was 1, it was 2. And the left child of array will be left child of basically 2. So left child of 2 is 2 into 2 plus 1, which is 5, and so on. But there were some problems as well. The problem is a sparse array. Can you say what is, can you guess what I am referring to by a sparse array here? Anyone?
Many of the nodes are vacant and there is nothing occupying.
Correct. So let me just draw you a tree. So it contains 1, it contains 2, it contains 3, it contains 4, contains 5, and it contains 6. So for this is a binary tree, right? Because every node either has one child, two children, or no children. So the level is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the level of this tree is 4. So if I want to store this binary tree in an array, most of the positions will be kept vacant. Why? Because I need to store 1 in this 0th position. This position, the 1th position, will be vacant. The next position will be stored with the value 2, which is eventually the second position, the 2th position. Then, as you can understand, so this is empty, this is empty, this is empty. So this was so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then this is 5. So basically, this will be stored in 3, 4, 3 will be stored in the 5th position. And can you say what in what array position this 4 will be stored? Anyone?
10.
It will be stored in the 10th position. Why? Because uh, no, not 10. Please. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, in which position it will be stored? Sorry. So let me. So this is 5.
So is it
No,
12?
it's not. It's not 5. It's not 10. It should not be 10. So it's 2i plus 2. So this array, this node is stored in the 5th position. So the right child of this node will be stored in the 2i plus 2th position. So it should be anyone?
12. So
12. Correct. So it will be stored in the 12th position. And in between, from 5 to 11, from 6 to 11, all the positions will be vacant. And also, so it is 12th position. And this will be stored in the 25th position, because the left child of this is 12 into 2 plus 1, which is 25, and it will be 26, because 12 into 2 or 2 into 12 plus 2. And also you can imagine that if I place the 25th and 26th position at the end of this array, so it will be containing 5, it will be containing 6, but all these positions will be kept vacant. So these are vacant positions. So let me just yeah. So these are vacant cells. These are vacant cells. This is one another vacant cell. This is again two vacant cells in between. So as you can see, there are multiple vacant cells in the array. So that's why I am saying that it is actually making a sparse array. So 4 was stored here. So it is actually a sparse array, very sparse, very, I mean, so in total, so the size of this array is 27, but there are only 6 items stored. 1, 2, 3 in the 0th position, 2th position, 5th position, 12th position, and 25, 26 position. So we are actually unnecessarily consuming so much space in the memory. So this is the drawback with this array representation of binary tree. All right. So the next representation of binary tree that we will be discussing is a linked list representation. So what we will be doing is we will be declaring a structure. the structure will be containing the data part as well as two pointer parts of the same structure. So basically, if I declare, if I consider one object of this structure, it will be look like this. So here the data will be stored. Here the left child will be stored. Here the right child will be stored. So these are basically, these two are will be containing the location, the address of some other nodes, and the nodes will be eventually be the left child, respectively the left child and the right child of this D node. So if I consider, say, this as, say, where was my eraser? Okay, let's call it, say, A. If the left child of A is B, so this position will be containing the address of this node. And also, if I consider another node, say this is the node contains the value C, the data part is the data contains C, the parent, which is this node, the node containing the data A, that the corresponding right child of that node will be containing the address of this node. This is pictorially presented here as well. So after declaring one object, it will be creating one memory location like this, where there will be one data part which will actually be storing the actual data that I want to store in the binary tree. In this case, it is int, but note that it can be anything. It can be a character, it can be a float, also it can be a structure itself as well, structure of some other data type as well. So this data is not essentially or not always an integer, but these two, the address part or the pointer parts, will always be two pointer variables of the same structure. Why? Because the tree will be containing the same type of data, in the rest of the trees. So if I consider the first, so if I consider this is the root, so the left subtree and the right subtree of this node will also be containing character values, as I am storing a character here. So the left subtree and right subtree, all the nodes will contain some characters, some alphabets. So that's why these positions should be containing the address of the same structured data type. And formally, these the position or the address that is stored in the left subtree for this root node is formally called as left subtree. And all the nodes that we will be storing in the right side of this node will be called a right subtree. So which is essentially again a binary tree. I am repeating once again. So if I consider the whole thing as a tree, and this as a root, the left pointer will contain the address of another tree, which is again a binary tree. Basically, the address of that another binary tree, which is again basically a binary tree. And in the right subtree, in the right position, I mean to say with the right pointer, it will contain the address of another binary tree, which is basically the right subtree of this tree. So with an example, say if I draw another tree So here, if I consider this as a root, so the left subtree is this and the right subtree is this, where this is the root, this is the root of the left subtree, and this is the root of the right subtree. Is there any question? So basically these addresses will be stored in these two positions. So this is basically an array, a node of this structure type. So the address or the location of this node will be stored here, and the location of this node will be stored here. And again, if I consider only this part, this is the root, and this is the left subtree is empty. The right subtree contains this E. So the address of this E will be stored in the right position, basically this, of this node. All right. Any question up to this?
Sir, one question.
Yes, please.
Sir, for n-array tree, like here,
Mhm.
for binary, if it is not a perfect binary tree, then
Mhm.
some left or right node may point to null, right?
Right.
So if n-array tree is there, it may
Mhm.
so happen that for some left node, there would be like say 2n like nodes are there for that node, and
Correct.
so basically we should be, since we are using the same data type for all
Mhm.
these nodes, then
Mhm.
we have to like give all the nodes, we have to give 2n nodes for all the like nodes in the tree, right? But
All the nodes in the tree. You are absolutely correct. So for any n-array tree, so
yeah.
for example, I am referring to say n equals to say 5. So basically 5 array tree. So I need to declare one structure of say n array, and I need to use basically, so I'm again considering the data type as int D, and I want to declare basically 5 n array pointers. So this is basically I want to print a star, write a star here. So it will be, you can say first, then again second, then again third, then again fourth, and then again fifth. So I need to have, I mean, in case of binary tree, I was storing only the first and second here. As you can see, the left and right. I'm not referring to them as first and second, but I am referring to them as left and right. But for any n-array tree in general, generic n-array tree, I need to define that many number of pointers of this same structure. Is it clear? I mean, I hope I was able to understand your question correctly.
Sir, like if one single node is there at root node,
Mm-hmm.
and we make five sub child children
Mm-hmm.
from that node,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
from all those five nodes, it may not like it is not compulsory that again they will be producing five sub child, right?
Yes, of course.
So it
Ah,
may
okay,
happen that
okay. I may have understood you. So so basically, this is, you can consider this as a this node. So now say the tree looks like this. So now I don't know. I mean, initially for binary tree, I know that the child will be either left or right. So here, as there are 5 choices, you need to mention. So I am keeping 2 childs in the left just to for the elaborative elaboration purpose, and 3 childs in the right. Just to show you with this example. So this is the first, this is the second, the third, fourth, and fifth. Now, say a B came into picture. Again, it will be having the same structure. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to add this B as the, say, fourth child of A. Then this will be pointing to this. In general, all these nodes will be containing a null value. Whenever an array, whenever a new node come into picture, that new node will be first created in the memory using an object of this structure. And then what I need to do is I need to point the corresponding parent, the corresponding child position of that parent, in this case this fourth position of A, with the corresponding address of the node. And now I hope your question is, if I understood you correctly now, there will be, so if the array is just like this, so we are actually wasting this position, there are 4 null pointers here and there are 5 null pointers here. So it is actually the case, we cannot do anything. So it will be kind of a waste of memory. So is it, I mean, can you please repeat your question once again?
Yes, sir. Like,
I mean,
this is the like question. Like, if we are unnecessarily like since
Correct.
say one node is there and the node with highest degree, that that number of what to say pointers we need to create like for each node. Say in a tree, the one node is that 6 degree is there. Then we need to create a data type, a struct data type of first, second, third, up to 6, right?
Very nice.
Because, yeah. So
Awesome. Great. I got your point and I got your suggestion as well. So I guess from your voice, I think you are Aditya, right?
yes, sir.
So Aditya, what Aditya is suggesting is, as you can see in this example, this node contains only one child, but there are positions to store the address of 4, I mean actually 5 children altogether. So if the tree, I mean, let me formalize the things as well. So if the tree is static, that means the tree will not be changing. We can, instead of using this kind of a fixed structure where we have already declared all the position, all the pointers, what we can do is, depending on the degree of the node, we can define that many structures. So basically, what we can do is, instead of declaring this, what we can do is we can declare a star star. Can you say what a star star is here? So star star, as we have seen, correct, it's a pointer to pointer. So now what we will be doing is, depending on the degree. So I hope you remember what degree is. A degree is the number of child or the number of number of connected edges from that node. So if I exclude the parent node, as we have discussed earlier, we will be including that. But for this example, so let's consider that this is not actually the root. The root is here. So the degree of this node is 2. But let's consider that I am only considering the downwards degrees. So as I have discussed in the first class, or in the, I guess in the second class, that another definition of a degree of a node is the number of subtrees having this node as root. So the number of subtrees having this node as a root is 1. So that's why we can consider the degree as 1 here as well. So for this example, I am not considering 2. let's consider it as 1, or of course we can consider the actual degree that I have discussed and told you that one we will be using. We just need to subtract 1 from that degree. So now what I will be doing is, depending on the degree, I will be allocating this array. So if the degree is say 4, I will be allocating this, I will be mallocing. I hope you understand the term mallocing. So I will be malloc, I'm saying I will be mallocing that many, an array of that many size. I hope you understood the suggestion that Aditya is saying here, because again I am repeating, as there are so many null pointers, it is kind of a waste. It is kind of a waste here. So that's why what we can do is, we can declare an array, which will be allocated in the dynamically during the runtime, and that array will be containing the pointers. Actually, this array will be containing the pointers. That's why it's pointer to pointer. So as we have discussed, I hope in the CS 3101, all arrays are basically, all arrays can also be considered as pointers. So this child will be containing, so if I write this child with 4, so it will be containing child, this node will be containing 4 positions, basically 4 indices, and each of these positions 0, 1, 2, 3, each of them will contain the address. So each of them will contain the address of the corresponding node. So as we know, as we will be understanding that the degree of this node will be 4, so we will be allocating this child with 4. Basically, we will be declaring this child as an array with 4 size, and each of the 0, 1, 2, and 3 position of this array will be containing the corresponding address of its child nodes. Clear? Clear, everyone? Aditya, is it clear? I hope this is exactly what you are suggesting.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot for bringing this up. I have planned on deferring this particular discussion for a little bit, because this little bit complicated, because here I am declaring a start pointer to pointer. Okay, so never mind. We can discuss this. We have discussed this now as well. And if you require, I can discuss this later on as well. All right, moving on. So here, as you can see, for this array linked list representation of this binary tree, the root, there will be one pointer variable of this structure, which we will be referring to as the root, and that root will be containing the address of this first node in the tree. All right. Now, coming back to one topic that I have discussed, I have started discussing in the last class, when I was comparing and contrasting linear data structure and non-linear data structure. Now, if you can remember, or if you consult the slides that I have shared with you guys, there is a point that for linear data structure, computer memory maintained in a linear way, it is easy to implement, but it is not the efficient one. It is not at all the efficient one. That's why I have actually highlighted this in red. But for non-linear data structure, the computer memory is efficiently utilized. That's why the memory consumption for this nonlinear data structure will be much less than the linear data structures. I have partially discussed this with this why we should be using this linked list representation rather than array representation here. But let me discuss a little bit further. So first of all, let's come back to the same question. Why linked list representation is memory efficient than array representation? So one point that we have already discussed is there is a sparsity of array. There will be so many vacant places if I use the array representation. But for this linked list representation, we will be allocating randomly we will be allocating the memory, and that memory location will be containing the corresponding data. And when there is a need to create another node, that is when there is a new node that is, or new data that is coming into the picture or coming into the binary tree, we will be creating an object of this array of this structure, and we will be placing it basically placing it with the corresponding changing the corresponding addresses and so on. So again, for this example, if a new array if a new node come with the array, with the data d, initially a node with d having left child and right child pointing to null will be created. Then depending on its parent, the address position of its parent will be changed. So initially the left child and right child of C, of course all these will also be nulls. But after creation of this node, what we need to do is we need to create, or we need to change so for example, if I consider this that this is the right child of this node, so we need to change this null to contain the address of this node. So this we have already discussed. So this is one comparison of why linked list representation is memory efficient, because whenever there is a need, we can actually create one node using the linked list structure, and we can use that. We can use that to we can use that to add that node in the binary tree, which will not be wasting spaces in the memory, like one that we have seen while using the array representation. So there is actually another problem with this array representation. Okay, let me draw some pictures now, or let me explain it from the beginning. So let's consider I am declaring one structure as say int, no, one array as int, say A100. And let's consider, no, not let's consider, let's ask you a question. So what is the size of int? That is, how many bytes in the memory this integer data type will be containing, will be taking up, will be consuming in the memory. Anyone?
400.
For what?
400 bytes total.
400? No. 4 bytes. Only 4 bytes. So depending on your compiler, it can be 2 bytes as well. If you are using Turbo C in Windows operating system, it can be 2 bytes as well. But I hope you are using some kind of GCC compiler like Dev C++ or something like that. The size is 4 bytes for each integer array, for each integer variable. So here basically it is an array that will be containing, that has the capacity of containing 100 integer variables, right? So what will be the size of this? What will be the size of this? Anyone? It's easy.
400 bytes.
Correct. So 4 into 100, because there are 100 integers that it can store. So altogether it will be 400. So 400 bytes of memory location is needed to store this array in the memory. Now the interesting part comes. My question to you, how this memory is actually located in the virtual memory space? Can you say that? How this? So basically, if I consider this with a big picture here, no, let's declare one small array. It will be easy for me to make you understand. Let's declare another array int b having 4 array locations. So this will be taking up 16 bytes, right? Now, how this 16 byte will be located in the memory? Anyone?
I think they'll be next to each other.
Very nice. Absolutely correct. So it will be next to each other, or in more formal term, it is called in a continuous or contiguous memory location. So what contiguous means? So if the address of this position is say 1000 for B0, so this is basically B0, right? The starting or the location of B1 will be, can you say what? 1004. Because this 1000, 1001, 1002 and 1003, these 4 locations is actually corresponding to these 4 bytes. As integers are taking 4 bytes in your memory, from the array, from the memory location 1000 to 1003, the B0, the data in B0 is stored. So the next is B1 will be stored from 1004 to anyone? 1007. The third, that is B2, which will be stored from here it is 1008 to 1011. And the next, so basically this memory location, I mean, okay, I'll redraw it again. And it will be 1012 to 1015. So altogether it is from 1000 to 1015. And this 1000 to 1015, this, pardon my not so linear line, and this memory location will be in continuous location in the memory. So again, if I redraw this once again, so every byte is corresponding to one address. If this is 1000 and if this is 1015, this memory, so basically from 1001, so basically this will be again broken up into 4 different bytes. So in these bytes, the corresponding B0 will be stored, and for this as well. So this is starting from 1004. This will be starting from 1008, and this will be starting from 1012. So this memory location, this 16 byte memory location, will need to be in continuity in the virtual memory space. So pardon my use of this jargon, virtual memory space. this is, I mean, this is actually out of the scope of this course to discuss about virtual memory space. It is, I mean, but to briefly give you an overview of what this virtual memory space is, it is basically for each program that you execute, depending on your processor, a memory space is allocated in your RAM. So although your RAM can be of say 4 GB size, but the memory location and also you can understand that 4 GB memory location is already taken up by your operating system, by some running softwares as well. So there are hardly some, I mean, hardly around, I mean, much less than 4 GB spaces will be available to you for running your code. But when you are actually running a program, technically it can, not technically, theoretically it can take up the whole 4 GB space. Note my word, the whole 4 GB space it can take up. Although there are, say, the operating system is taking up, say, 1.5 GB of space, and the remaining is, say, 2.5 GB, and your Firefox is taking up, say, 500 MB, and your CID is, say, taking up, say, 200 MB. So the remaining is, although it's 1.8 GB, but theoretically it can actually take, every program that you execute, it can take up to 4 GB space. This is considering a 64-bit operating system. There is a relation between this, how many bit of operating system is there, is that in which you are running. So although the free memory is this much, theoretically it can take up this much memory for every program that you write. And for that memory location, this is actually, this 4 GB memory space is called a virtual memory space, because it is not actually existing. This 4 GB space is not actually existing. So that's why it is called virtual memory space. And then, and in that space there is again one data structure that is actually taking care of the memory allocations, that is called heap. So in this heap, all these memory allocations are happening. All the integers or all the variables or any type of variables that you declared, all the memory location, all the variables are actually created in this heap memory space, in this 4 GB virtual memory space. And whenever you are declaring this, it needs a continuous memory location, or as I was saying, a contiguous memory location. Now you might be wondering that what if there is no continuous memory location available in this heap space? Continuous of, say, in this case, say 16 byte, or in this case, say 400 bytes. So what if there is not much space? Because I mean, let's consider your program is already taking up some memory, and it is not actually able to allocate 16 bytes or 400 bytes memory in the heap space. So what would happen? So if you try to malloc, I mean, I hope you have written some codes using malloc. If you try to malloc a large space, if you want to malloc, say size of, say, int, and then if you provide a large value n, where n is, say 1 million, you will be able to, I mean, this memory space, I hope you will be able to allocate. But if you make it 1 billion, it will be actually, it might create a problem in your memory space. And if you try to do this, I mean, try to declare something like int star a, and then a equals to this malloc and so on, where the value of n is 1 million or more than that. you might get one runtime error. There will be no compilation error because it is syntactically it is correct. But while compiling, it will see that this much memory is not available in the heap space, and it will create an error, one runtime error. And if you are using some kind of GCC compiler, it will be giving you a segmentation fault error. Is it clear why this is actually, I mean, even though it is a memory waste that we have discussed earlier, and even if we kind of ignore the memory wastage or the sparsity of the array, even if we ignore that, there is one problem with this array representation is the continuous memory location problem. Is it clear to everyone? Please respond, otherwise I will be unable to understand. Any question? Acha, now coming back to the linked list representation.
Sir,
Yes.
if suppose for the in the virtual memory space, what you are now saying, there are like some patches where memory are like blank, spaces are there, but
Right.
in order to give a continuous memory locations, there are no spaces. Say for
Right.
100 continuous memory location we need to give, but
Right.
at any patches we couldn't find more than 50. So,
Right.
but all total they contribute up to, let's say, 1,000.
Very good question. I got your question. So Aditya is saying that, for example, in the heap, there is a space. So I'm just breaking up the memory location here in this array, in this heap. Say this location is taken, this location is taken, this location is taken, and this location is taken. So the continuity, I mean the continuous memory is available, say here it is say 37 bytes. Here in this space, say it is say 44 bytes. And here it is say 35 bytes. So altogether you can see it's more than 100 bytes. It's actually 116 bytes. But if I want to allocate, but as you can see, there is no continuous memory of 100 bytes. I want to allocate one array in that needs say 100 bytes, but there is no continuous memory available here. This is called a fragmentation problem. So I hope all of you have at least once seen the problem with defragmentation, not problem, or the tool available in your Windows operating system that defragments your hard disk. So the defragmentation means all these free memory locations are taken together, I mean, are taken back to back. So the defragmentation should have caused you a similar memory location like this, where all this the available memory will be continuous and all this taken up memory will be continuous. So this will be the memory location that are already taken up by something, and altogether the free memory spaces will be available continuous to each other or adjacent to each other. This is called defragmentation. Now wait a minute. The defragmentation that I am talking about is actually happening in your hard disk, but all this is actually happening in your virtual memory. In other sense, it is actually, I mean, if I kind of replace the virtual term with the primary memory, with the term primary, then primary memory is your RAM. So your RAM is say 4 GB. So this defragmentation is actually being done in your operating system, in your memory by your operating system. So actually, time to time, this kind of defragmentation in your primary memory or virtual memory is also happening. Sorry, pardon my wrong term, use of wrong term. In virtual memory, there is no concept of defragmentation for some operating systems, but your operating system will be taking care of the primary memory, defragmenting the primary memory, that is your RAM. But for this case, as Aditya, you are saying that in this case there is actually 116, if I do the maths correctly, yeah, it's 116 bytes available here, but it is this much is free. But as I want to allocate 100 bytes of memory in an array, it will not be getting that much space. So it will create you a problem, even though there is, I mean, more than that available. And it is actually a problem, as I have said, it is called fragmentation problem. I hope I have been able to answer your question, Aditya.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, coming back to this linked list representation, what we are doing for linked list representation is we are just, I mean, we are creating this node array one by one. Whenever there is a data, I'm just creating this. So it is, if it is an integer, say 10 is storing, and there are 2 pointers. So yes, of course, this much memory location. So if this is 4 byte and the addresses are 8 bytes, so to create one node, it would take up 20 bytes. And that 20 bytes of memory location, needs to be continuous. It needs to be continuous in the memory, in the heap. And for each, whenever you are creating one node, this 20 bytes of memory will be allocated in the heap. And of course, one node can be here, the next node can be here, the next node can be here, and the fourth node can be here. As you can see, it is not continuous. This is the first one, this is the second one, say this is the second one, this is the third one, and this is the fourth one. So it is not actually continuous. So earlier, as in case of array, as we are saying that the fragmentation was actually creating a problem, but for linked list representation, we can see that we can actually utilize these small fragments of memory separately and efficiently. That's exactly what this utilization of computer memory efficiently is referring to. All right, we are already at 11 o'clock. So in case you have some question, please ask.